Meet the unspeakable Milo Binder. His new self-titled album, produced by the indefatigable Willie Aaron of The Balancing Act, The Holy Brothers, and The Third Mind, is available right now. If you like John Prine, Jonathan Richman, and Tom T. Hall more than Ed Sheeran, then this one's definitely for you. The Unspeakable Milo Binder, available on Heyday Again Records at realgonemusic.com. Future Prophet Records is at it again, filling the charts with all the greatest hits from another dimension, a dimension where great music rules the airwaves like it used to in this one. Swear Tapes presents Crooked Teeth, available right now on Future Prophet Records. That's Future, Prophet Records.com. Order now. Welcome to Discograffiti, the deep dive podcast for music obsessives that gives maniacs like you and me the chance to connect with a brotherhood obsessed with rating the entire discography of every single artist and band that ever mattered. I'm your host, Dave Gebro, and when I was a kid, I thought I loved music. But no, that was only the beginning. I almost lost my life, and in the process, it made music a top priority in a way I'd thought was completely unimaginable. I quit my job, went all in on Discograffiti, and never looked back. And so, with 3 new episodes each week, you're going to gain a comprehensive knowledge of an act's history and output in the time it takes to listen to one album. Each new guest swings a hard left into an area you either had no idea you needed to know about, or know all about and can't believe you're not alone out there. And in this episode, we'll be turning our spray cans on Jefferson Airplane! Psst, along with our special guest, Jack Casady. This episode is part of a series called Feed Your Head, The Great Jefferson Airplane Deep Dive, which I've consciously crafted to act as the ultimate repository of fact and opinion on one of the greatest bands ever to walk the face of the earth, the almighty Jefferson Airplane. It includes a whopping 30 episodes, featuring interviews with Jack Casady, Jorma Kaukonen, David Freiberg, and China Kantner, and it spans decades, as one could never hope to attain a comprehensive understanding of the airplane without at least a cursory overview of its starship mutations. Part 5 of the Jefferson Airplane series features Jack and I doing a deep dive on the making of the band's debut album. You can expect some deliriously interesting digressions. Here are just a few of the many things that Jack discusses with Discograffiti in this podcast. Recollections about the contracts he may or may not have signed, the way that the album was recorded, a discussion about the blurb on the back cover, which empties out into a fascinating discussion about the ideals of the 1960s, the differences between Signe Tolley and Grace Slick, what Jack felt like they got right in the 60s, and a conversation that veers so beautifully, so organically, into one of my all-time favorite digressions in Discograffiti history, which explores the legacy of the hippie era. And away we go then! Can I ask you something that I've been curious about for a long time? And it's not just you, it's anyone that might have been in the band. Does having ideals that loom so large, that are writ so large, like skywriting almost, does having that and then having some of those things not come to pass at all create a cynic out of you in any way? Or are you able to uphold what to me are still very valid beliefs? They're truths. Just because the world didn't change in the way that you guys hoped and imagined, do you look back and see yourself as a foolish young man or a smart young man?
No, not at all. A little bit of both. You know, I think right now, today, this morning's news, there are people that will uphold what they believe is right and stand up for that. And that's really the key at the end of the day. It isn't about whether you put something in place that you think is good and true and does it last permanent. Nothing works that way. It never has since the beginning of time. Mm-hmm. There's no reason why it wouldn't. I think possibly people thought, if you were at Woodstock, you looked around. I remember looking around and I remember a comment, somebody saying, look, there's 300,000 of us. That was encouraging, that it wasn't just a promotion of just a rock show or a big rock concert, and how big and how much money tickets did you sell and all that. That there was something else brought from that besides that reinforced what you perceived as the goodness of humanity. And you played your little part in it, and that's what you hope for. And I think that's where the renewal of young people, as they discover that for themselves and their placement and their time and their way, is the hopefulness of mankind. And everybody has their shot at it, but you're only 21 once. Or you're only 18 once, you're only young once, and you only have that kind of surge, and then you move on, and things broaden in your life, and more happens in your life, and it's ripples in the pond, that move out away from you, and it just moves on. I don't think it's necessary for one to come back over and qualify of how good was it, or are you disappointed that it wasn't better than it was, because why? That's useless talk. That doesn't mean anything. I'm about to be 82 years old. We're talking about this stuff, and I'm grateful to talk about it, and it's fascinating. By you asking me these questions, I get to reflect on stuff that perhaps I wouldn't put before myself all on my own.
Yeah.
For any variety of reasons, but that's life, this is a really unique century because now we have documented, recorded footage of the human race running around in circles now for about 100 and some years. And that's never happened before. But you notice, it's just like, remember in the 90s when the internet, we were going to, how it was going to bring everybody together.
Yeah. Yeah.
How'd that work out?
The good old days, yeah. Yep.
How'd that work out? Oh, if everybody could just talk, then everybody would think like me.
Yeah.
And nobody would want power anymore. Nobody would want to be able to take something from somebody else. Nobody would want to be able to kill anybody. Nobody would want to harm one another because we're all talking together.
Yeah. In your wildest nightmares, if you had told hippie Jack about what was coming around the corner in 2026, do you think you would have, stuck around?
Well, let's get this hippie stuff in perspective. You described to me what a hippie is. I mean, there were people, that had active lives. Don't forget, the whole time that this was going on in San Francisco, the people that were working on electronics and building sound systems, they're very smart people. They were doing things. We were making music, putting together, going out and shows and putting concerts together and putting a message across. Everybody was working, working very hard. So if by hippie you meant somehow an alternative take on life, that's fine. But, certain things loom up. People start families and they have children. They put them in school, and then they take them for walks down to their school, to the bus stop or whatever. And they all of a sudden are doing very much like what their parents did.
Did you become your dad?
In certain, I tell you one thing. I reflect upon his influence on me more now than ever have in my life. And I'm so grateful for it. I've said all the time. And so, absolutely. And of course, I understand him a little bit now. But to get personal, what's really hard to fathom is the fact that when he passed away at age 56 from a massive heart attack, I'm going to be 82 soon. So, I passed that 56 mark a long time ago.
Yeah.
But I certainly have more empathy where perhaps I was less observant at a much younger age. Yeah. So I think that's classic. It's got nothing to do with his music or the hippie bit or something like that. It just happens to do with the fact that you're so tied up with your own life. It's very hard to appreciate, your parent perspective. And what's interesting about all of that is that no matter what, a younger person is not going to understand those 7 years of 1965 to 1972 without being there. Because that age group coming out of the 50s into the mid-60s and then 70s can only be lived by those that were there. I'm reflecting back on 60 years now, and when I started playing guitars, if I reflected back on that, I'd be at the end of the great artistic renaissance of the 1890s in Paris. It'd be me trying to understand Toulouse-Lautrec and the crowd that he hung out with. Mm-hmm. That was written about so much, and I read books about it, but I wasn't there. I can only read such a surface recollection by somebody who happened to write about it. You know, because I don't understand what a sea change that was from what had gone on before his time, that his parents grew up in, that he grew up in, when they were calling, all impressionist art trash, and I think young people can look, you just can't transfer from one generation to another.
Right.
Certain things you can. But the awakening that we felt coming out of the 50s into the 60s, that's what was so exciting for us.
All right, let's talk about track one. Unbelievable to think with this labyrinthine serpentine discussion we've been having that's been fascinating from the start that we haven't actually talked about any of the songs, but Blues from an Airplane. All right, that about does it. For over 4 years now, Discograffiti's Friday episodes have been completely free, and it's been my pleasure. But for a variety of reasons, Discograffiti's now moved to the subscription-based Patreon as our primary platform. Moving forward, our public stream will feature a teaser of the Friday episode and a Tuesday teaser of the bonus episode, and that's all. But here's the good news. Only $5 a month will get you the weekly Friday podcast to which you become accustomed. That's it. It's a no-brainer at just $1 an episode. And just that little bit will be what's required to help the show survive. To sweeten the pot, you'll also get regular installments of the Discograffiti Soldiers of Sound podcast. That's Rudy Fishman's podcast within a podcast featuring our Patreon members as guests. You'll also get access to over 100 back episodes of that show. The $10 Lieutenant tier gets you all that, plus access to half of the Patreon archive. That's hundreds of additional episodes, plus copies of my personal show notes, which include invaluable research, star ratings, and reviews. But the $20 major tier is the place to be, unless you can support the show on even higher tiers, which, if you can afford it, offers substantial perks, including advertising on the show and selecting the guests and artists I cover. With the major tier and above, you get it all. The Monday bonus episodes, aka the best stuff, the Friday show, the Soldiers of Sound podcast, plus access to the entire archive. That's many hundreds of Patreon episodes, an absolutely endless barrage of music entertainment, including 50 episodes of The Private Press with Paul Major, Rock Cousteau, Queasy Listening, and so much more. So support the podcast that's been supporting you for years. Discograffiti's calling, and it needs you, so don't risk feeling guilty by not giving. But enough of me yapping. Go on, subscribe now. Visit patreon.com/discograffiti and find the tier that's right for you. Stay tuned, because next week brings upon us the 6th installment of Feed Your Head, the Great Jefferson Airplane Deep Dive, in which Jack and I go track for track on one of the great debuts of them all. It's part 2 of Jack Casady on Jefferson Airplane Takes Off. Okay, here's the week up ahead. This Sunday, our weekly show within a show, the Discograffiti Soldiers of Sound podcast, drops for our Patreon's private tier. These are real people with talent and a burning fire deep inside, just like you and I. Then, come Monday, the major tier gets a very special treat. Monday's bonus episode is part 17 of our love series, which covers the 1981 LP Arthur Lee and the 1992 Arthur Lee in Love. This pod details a 15-year period from the late 70s to the early 90s, during which the wild choices Arthur made in his life wound up overshadowing his music as a priority, and yet still somehow made him no less fascinating. There will be a very short sneak peek running publicly for free on Tuesday morning, but the entirety of the show will only be accessible on the major tier of our Patreon. A heartfelt Discograffiti thanks goes out to my beautiful son Mason, Jack Casady, Rudy Fishman, Becky Boyd, my mom, my dad, my incredibly loyal fans, and especially the entire Patreon community, the Soldiers of Sound. I love every last one of you, and this show would not exist without you, my friends. Speaking of friends, it's high time for some new ones. They're in our Facebook group, Discograffiti Soldiers of Sound. That's the best way to find out what's coming up on the show, but there's a hell of a lot more. You get recaps of the day in music history, the ability to pitch questions to guests, polls that put you in the driver's seat on guest and band decisions, and access to a thriving creative hub if you're looking for a collaborator. So make sure you don't miss out. You can find the link to the Discograffiti Soldiers of Sound Facebook page right there in the show notes. And if you don't mess with the Zuck, no sweat. Just email me at info@discograffiti.com and I'll keep you in the loop. So now that it's done and you want more, another way to dive even deeper into the amniotically dark and cozy psychedelic underworld of the 60s and 70s is to leap headfirst into our Spirit series. That's episodes 241 to 249, the Lenny Waronker interview, that's 244 and 245, our ongoing Graham Nash interview in which he talks about everything he's ever done, our 13-episode Moby Grape series featuring interviews with Peter Lewis, Don Stevenson, and Bob Mosley. That's episodes 208 to 214. The Beatles' Pete Best. That's episode 188. Our free design interview with all the Dedrick siblings. That's 160 to 162. Our Mamas and Papas series featuring my 16-hour Michelle Phillips interview, which she says is the best interview she's ever done. That's episodes 141 to 159. My 13-hour interview with Terry Kirkman and Jules Alexander about everything the association ever did. That's 109 to 113. My interview with Vashti Bunyan about her life and everything she's ever recorded, that's 103 to 104. My interview with Os Mutants Sergio Diaz, that's 86 and 87. Lou Barlow on the Zombies, that's 59 and 60. Foxygen's Jonathan Rado on Todd Rundgren, that's 37 and 40. Anthony Fantano on the Velvet Underground, that's 32 and 33. Bob Forrest on the band, that's 25 and 27. Andrew Sandoval on the Monkees, that's 22 and 23. Don Randy on David Axelrod, that's episode 17. And Pink Floyd is 1 and 2. And of course, be sure to mark your calendars, because next Friday, June 5th, we're coming at you with Feed Your Head Part 6. It's part 2 of the Jack Casady Jefferson Airplane Takes Off Deep Dive. It's the one with all the track-by-track stuff. Trust me, you're not going to want to miss it. And so, from now till then, don't let our youth go to waste, lads and ladies. It's Discograffiti!